Today, we're joined by Todd Rakow, CFO at Gladly. He's had leadership roles at PayPal, co-founded his own startup, which was acquired by UKG, and now he's applying all of that experience to building a modern finance function at Gladly. Uh, Todd, welcome to the Pursuit of Profitability. I'm really excited to have you on the show. So, and let's start simple. What's something in your world right now, at work or outside, that's genuinely energizing you? I can go first if that's making it easier.
Sure.
The things that for me are we launched our kind of our AI agents like everybody else in the last couple of weeks. It's at Spendflo, so that's like it's like a whole new company almost. It feels like it. You have to do that. And the second is we just had a newborn. So those two things, I don't know. I don't know if it's energizing or how I'm getting through it, but it's somewhat very liberating and it's uplifting me at this point.
Oh, well, Sid, thank you for having me. It's great to be on here. It's an
Yeah.
honor. And that's incredibly impressive. Either one of those things alone is incredibly impressive. And yeah, it's just, I don't think anybody can really understand what you're going through when doing those both simultaneously. But both will make you stronger. And I just wish you best of luck with both.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you. I really appreciate it. What about
Yeah.
you? What's right? What's
Yeah. Similar but different answers. On the work front, so Gladly is a customer support software. We're all about creating a single lifelong conversation for our customers with their end consumers. And we sell mainly in the retail e-commerce space. So as you can imagine, AI and what it disrupted first, primarily was customer support chatbots, these things that were really early AI. And so it's been this just incredible opportunity for Gladly to marry AI and that conversational agentic piece that AI has become
Mm,
so good at with that conversational customer support that we provided through our software, and that the agents that use Gladly we're very used to can now weave AI into that, support those agents, assist them resolve conversations before they ever get to those agents. So it's been a very natural progression for us and definitely
nice.
tailwinds for the business, and exciting. From a finance perspective, it makes things a lot more complicated and harder, and but like a great challenge and interesting. My team's enjoyed remodeling the business because of it. And then on a personal front, it's I remember those early days that you're going through now very well. My kids are now 5 and 7, and I think they're kind of in that golden age of not what you're going through right now, right? You don't have to hover over them, but they also don't have like the travel soccer tournaments where I have to go somewhere different every weekend for that kind of thing
Oh
yet.
wow.
5 and 7, they're kind of in that beautiful middle ground, and I know it won't last forever, so I'm trying to enjoy it.
That's very nice. And for you right now, and with what's all of us have been feeling the weight of the macro landscape recently.
Mhm.
Rate hikes, tariff headlines, election year volatility, with everything in AI going on. What's the macro signal that you're watching most closely right now, and why?
Yeah, a lot of them, and man, that is a long list, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's just so much in such a short
It-
time.
Totally, it's true. I think for our business, like I mentioned, we sell into mainly retail commerce, e-commerce companies, and so we actually have this real-time, viewpoint into economic activity from our
Mm,
customers, right? How much time are they spending on the phone? How many agents are they hiring? Certainly, how much AI are they using? And our business and the flows of our business go along with mainly the macroeconomic outlook of the US and certainly globally, because every retail e-commerce company is shipping and receiving goods from all over the world. So I look a lot at those, certainly tariffs and the ins and outs of those and the reactions of consumers to that news. And it's interesting, like news headlines are always trying to be sensational and try to get you to click and whatnot. And it's been really grounding to also just be able to watch the data from within our business and to see
mm.
how is it really impacting consumer behavior, sentiment. um, and generally speaking, it's never quite as extreme in either direction in terms of bad or good, from things that you might just hear from a headline perspective.
Mm.
So yeah, really, it's an important part of my job, I believe, as a CFO to be thinking about that and to
Oh
really keep
wow.
my ear to that piece because it really, will affect our business both positively and negatively.
That's actually a really nice viewpoint. I didn't think of that. You actually have the view of agents, what's going on, what's the retail demand actually look like. You kind of see it like all like consumption data like 6 months or 8 months prior to like what is maybe out there
Yeah,
already. Yeah,
that's right. I mean, we needed to forecast our business to
yeah,
understand what the next year looks like. The whole job is to look at that data and to think about it. During COVID, as you recall,
yeah.
yeah, like in customer support, online customer support, if you think about what happened with COVID, it's everybody moved out of the stores and went online to shop. And
So there
so
was
our
like,
usage, yeah, it just went
right.
through the roof, right? Like all of it was now, it kind of pushed e-commerce forward 10 years overnight. And
Hmm.
then, things have slowly come back to earth. People have been more in stores. And so we've been able to kind of see that dynamic. But yeah, it's a fun industry to work in because you are so tied into the macro.
Hmm. It's a, I would have, that's a very interesting answer. Um, we've also seen shift in how customers are buying over the last couple of years, especially in SaaS. What's changed in your customers? It's previously a lot previous point as well. What's changed in how they're actually buying or renewing? And how are you in general from a finance landscape adjusting to it from as a buyer, and as well as like from the business standpoint, how are you seeing that change and adapting to that?
Yeah. So from our customers' perspective, we're going from, pre-AI, it was, we're going to buy 100 seats. We're going to buy it up front for a year, pay up front, just incredibly straightforward
Yeah.
business, SaaS business. And, with AI, and to answer your question about how are customers buying, it has completely shifted towards a outcome-based pricing model where you pay as you go based on those outcomes. So both because of AI and then also just because of the macro factors that are affecting our country and the retail e-commerce space,
Hmm.
we've really seen customers go from, contracted up front to let me spend based on the outcome and
Consumption.
performance of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so obviously, from a finance perspective, that means a completely different financial model. It's a very positive thing overall if you think about AI businesses and their ability to capture a lot of the spend that perhaps used to go towards purely just, humans and seats that can now go to a combination of that plus
Hmm.
AI, which might be more total cost to an end customer, but it's saving them net net if you think about the total spend that they have across their employee base as well as software. So it's a win-win from Gladly or any AI company who's doing this and the end
Nice.
customer's perspective as that shift happens. But it's
Nice.
different, like in how they spend it, how much they spend up front, and when you can bill for it, and
Those
therefore how you can forecast it just
those
completely
sales
changes.
commissions, those sales commission
Right.
models are
Yes. Yes, I'm sure sales
painful.
commission software is doing very well right now. We don't use any of it, and I think my team is going to revolt against me pretty soon because it's
Yeah.
just much more complex. Yeah.
Oh man. And you've seen how finance operates at both ends of the spectrum, like from startups to enterprises like PayPal and Fidelity. What's the biggest mindset shift a CFO needs to make when going from a large organization to a growth stage like company as well?
Yeah. At Ultimate Software, which is where I had sold my previous company to, and
Yeah.
it's now called UKG. I reported to the CFO, just a great person, a great mentor to me, and really got to see him operate at a large, multi-billion dollar public company and what his job is. What does that mean as to be
Hmm.
a CFO of a big public company? And it's so much of a storyteller. I mean, it's really, you
Uh,
just boil it down to that. I need to understand this business. I need to be able to convey it, tell a story to investors, to the board, to big customers, et cetera. But it's such an outward facing role. And I learned a lot from that. I think good skills for the future. Certainly Gladly continues to grow. But I'd say to contrast it to my role here at Gladly, still a private company, but growing SaaS and AI company, you're just so much more of an operator. The
mm,
storytelling is very important, but you have your hands in a lot more of the day to day than you do certainly at a public company. I
mm.
call myself the chief miscellaneous officer. I really feel like that's kind of what CFOs are at this stage, or your chief context switcher, because between HR and legal and finance, FP&A and accounting, IT, data security, compliance, uh, the job is to understand all of those at a detailed, minute level, provide leadership direction to all of them, and then also take the macro view of the entire company and tell the story to, we've got our own board and investors and fundraising, et cetera. But yeah, it's certainly a much more hands-on role. I enjoy it. I
Mm.
really like this model of CFO. Certainly, hopefully, gladly continues to grow, and I'll get some exposure at the public realm someday. But it's
Nice.
same title and really, yeah, definitely different responsibilities.
Very, very interesting. And on the same lines, you mentioned this. You were actually a founder before, like you were like a finance operator, then you became a founder, and then you actually sold the company. It's actually very rare to see a CFO who's also been a founder. I think it's like you're probably the one of one that I've probably met, Todd. So, well, tell me a little bit about like what was happening inside Conjoya when you actually went through that and that acquisition. What is it living in that? How did that M&A shape how you've actually grown as a leader?
Yeah, and to clarify, yeah, I agree with you. I think finance folks are fairly useless at starting companies because you got to if you're not building or selling, what are you doing?
Uh,
And really, I was a co-founder. It was actually there was a first iteration of a business that started that I joined, and we ended up creating a completely new one and just like a very hard pivot, which would probably take the rest of the podcast for me to explain through. But so working with some just amazing, smart technical and sales leaders to co-found what became Kanjoya. And it was such an important learning experience in my career to go through that process of selling it ultimately, and then immediately become join the corp dev team of the acquiring company,
mm,
because you just overnight just switch sides of the table from trying to negotiate a deal, get through due diligence, get the deal done. And then the next day, my job was to join the other side and think about, well, what other companies we want to go buy. But I think it just adds so much empathy to a corporate development person to really
yeah,
understand
to
what an
be on the
operator
acquirer.
does.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, for sure. I think this goes for corporate development. I think it goes for the venture realm and really being understand how to be a great investor is to have been an operator at some point. So
mm,
that was a great experience to kind of turn around on the other side and say, okay, so what do these founders really think about and need, and what's important to them? To just have a ton of empathy for what they're going through, which is just stress to the max, especially when you're so close to finalizing the sale of your company that you've worked on for so many years. And I think
yeah,
ultimately that experience, now that I'm at Gladly and got back to the startup realm again, when I joined here nearly 6 years ago, was just, it was great to take that both sides of the table experience back to running a company and operating it again and thinking about what worked in that sale process, what didn't. And then, for the deals that I worked on in Corp Dev, which, we did a couple of deals, we almost did, twice as many that, failed
wow,
somewhere along the way. And you just see all the ways that these things can line up in so many ways, but not the one that at the last minute might change a decision.
nice.
So, I think the biggest lesson from it is just be ready to sell your company at any time, even though it's probably several years out. Run the books, have the systems, have the legal background, and set up the due diligence room, et cetera. Because someday your door's just going to be knocked, and that's how you want to sell your company. It's
Mm,
acquired, not you sold it, right? It's just in terms of your
that's true.
negotiation. So just be ready for that, and that whole process becomes a lot less stressful, or a
Yeah,
little bit less stressful at
a
least.
little bit less stressful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, and what is the tech stack at Gladly look like today? Where do you see the opportunity to automate the most or de-risk the most? Or like there's so much opportunity now available, I'm guessing as well. So where are you
Yeah.
focusing your time and energy on, and what is that? How are you thinking about your stack as it evolves?
Yeah, it's funny. It's innovation in finance used to be go from QuickBooks to NetSuite. Now you're right, like you're cutting edge. You've got the big product, and that was the big leap. And I feel like so many finance organizations set themselves up with those tried and true players, and are
Mm,
now completely re-examining that tech stack and say, well, how do I reinvent all of that? So we're probably doing a bit of a combination of both look at the vendors you're using today and think about what are their AI capabilities, how much does that cost, how can you reallocate your spend within that vendor to just get a whole lot more automation out of it than you are today. And then also just there's things that a NetSuite or others perhaps just aren't ever going to be cutting edge from an AI perspective on.
mm,
That'd be great to bring in best of class as new software. I and every CFO doesn't want to add, lots more software vendors. That's never the goal. So with all of this, it's always about how can I do this and what does it save me somewhere else? What's the ROI of these new vendors? But I think they're making a very compelling case for where AI can really drive automation. a couple examples for us. So I said we're on NetSuite is, our ERP. We just added tabs, which is really helping with the billing automation of billing, which is, this whole like go from contracted
Yeah.
contracts to usage based. Like what used to be kind of a manual pain process becomes nearly impossible when you're dealing with that, and monthly billing, et cetera. So we're really excited about an AI first platform there. We're looking at replacing our FP&A software, and there's a lot of
Mm.
AI native
Yeah.
FP&A software now that's really exciting, just in terms of how much of the management of your job, the day to day, it can handle, and you could spend your time thinking about and answering questions about the business versus uploading and downloading and
Yeah.
whatnot. So it's a wild time in the market right now in the CFO realm or in finance realm
Yeah.
generally, but
Yeah.
all for the positive generally.
Nice. So before we wrap up, Todd, we're gonna end like, with a quick segment we call closing the books. It's a few rapid fire questions, short and quick answers only. Um, so tell me when you're ready and we can get started.
Let's do it. Love it.
Awesome. One GPT prompt that you use and has changed how you work.
I really love it for here's a document, summarize in blank way. So I'm using it for board prep summaries.
Uh,
Here's the KPIs of the business for the quarter. Summarize these in a way that is compelling to a board of the site. Like obviously, you can get really specific, and I love it for that. I mean, I read every word twice and really think about is this my opinion as well? But it just takes you 8 steps out of 10 and really
nice.
helps with time savings on that.
Nice. What's the most overrated KPI?
I think churn,
Mm.
and obviously churn is really important, but it's just net dollar retention is so much more of
Uh,
a way of explaining how the business is doing. And yes, there's churn, but if there's expansion as well, the net is what
it
really
nets out.
matters. And yeah, and you're seeing that with AI for sure. So yeah, that would probably be my answer.
What's one tool you can't function without?
I mean, it used to, every finance guy would say Excel,
Excel.
right?
Yeah.
Right. But like now, actually, we moved to be a Google shop. I really hated when we did that transition,
Oh
but
my God.
it's working too.
Oh, so
So now
hard.
it's G Sheets. But honestly, like the AI technology that allows for the automation of the things that used to be, the reason that Excel used to be so sacred to every finance person, the more you can replace that and have it be more conversational back and forth,
Man, it is.
whatever that is going to be the indispensable product, and a lot of people are racing towards it. These are not
Uh,
short answers. I got to work on my brevity here. Yeah.
uh, what's the biggest budget killer in most orgs?
Contractors.
Yeah.
People think they're free. It's not full-time heads. It's just a contractor. So whatever. It's just not true.
What's a recurring nightmare for you? Audit, cash modeling, or like last minute board decks?
It's good. It's a good group right there. For me, I would say it's our cash forecast is wrong, and we've got months to live, kind of thing. That is the kind of thing that would keep me up at night, and I have some form of that dream all the time.
Oh man, you have no idea. That's the dream.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
That's
It's very real.
awesome, Todd. This is fantastic. Thank you so much for taking your time and spending it with us and on a sunny, really nice day. And hope you gonna get a nice ride in.
Let's do it. I appreciate that, Sid. Great to be in and love the show. Thanks for having
Awesome. Thank you so much, Todd. Really appreciate it.
me. Bye bye.
Bye bye.